So I have a radical goal in the next 60 minutes to save millions of lives. Today is an emergency wake-up call for all of us. Diabetes is a ticking time bomb. It's a silent killer. It's annihilating the African American community, literally, killing almost 100 of us every single day in the African American community. And that number may not be a lot unless it's your mother, your friend, someone in your family, or yourself. So I'm telling you, people are dropping like flies, and it's time to get out of denial. So I asked America's doctor, Dr. Oz, to be here because as a heart surgeon, you see every day the deadly effects of diabetes. It really is the fastest growing disease in history. I'm really so staggered by these numbers. 80 million people in the United States of America have diabetes or are on the verge. And at least 6 million are walking around with it and have no idea. And if you don't think diabetes affects you, we spend $174 billion every year on this disease. That's more than AIDS and all the cancers combined. So experts say at this rate it will bankrupt our healthcare system, correct?
Question.
Yeah.
No question. I don't care which system you happen to prefer. I don't care what party you are. If we don't fix the problem of diabetes in this country, we will bankrupt our future ability to pay for health care in the nation. Period.
$174 billion a year. So believe it or not, there is a bright side. Most diabetes is preventable, it is treatable, even reversible. Dr. Oz is here, and your new show's doing great. Congratulations on the Dr. Oz show.
I learned from the best. Yeah. I was well taught.
Thank you. So let's start with what it is. What is diabetes?
So one of the biggest challenges we run into is folks call it a little bit of sugar, right?
Yeah.
Just to write it off is not so important. I want to be crystal clear on this, so I made an animation.
Okay,
love
that.
Let's pretend you put some food in your mouth, okay? And let's just say it's some tortillas with a little bit of cheese on it. It's pretty benign looking. Goes into your mouth, into the stomach, it just freezes for a second. So there's your stomach digesting the food. There's the liver, which has to take all the nutrients to decide what to do with it, including making sugar out of it. Gallbladder's the green stuff. And this organ right here, that yellowish thing, that's the hero today. That's called the pancreas. Let's run this forward. The food goes through the stomach, into the small bowel. The bile, the green stuff, and the yellow stuff from the pancreas, they mix. And there's the pancreas there doing its best to keep up. The food is being washed like you wash soap off, some grease. And the molecules of glucose or sugar get absorbed into the body. Now, that's cut into the bloodstream. The sugar now is traveling around. And these little particles here are insulin. And these insulin particles are being released from the pancreas. And what the pancreas is trying to do, freeze this for a second, is to take the sugar, these blue dots coming in are sugar molecules. And the insulin is saying, come to me, like a funnel. It's allowing the sugar to go past the bloodstream into the tissues. Goes to our brain. Our brain can only use sugar to think. Makes us think better. Goes to our muscles so we can exercise, right? But it does other things too.
Now, is sugar a substitute for the word carbohydrate? Because I know our brain needs carbohydrate to think.
Exactly. Simple carbohydrates are sugars.
Okay.
Complex carbohydrates are sugars with some kind of fiber attached to them.
Okay, got
Real
that.
foods.
Got
okay?
that.
Now, what happens, run this forward, if you have too much sugar going in? We store it in our belly. That's how our ancestors survived. But that belly fat, the omentum, gets ponderously large. And as it does that, it poisons the insulin so it no longer can work and the sugar cannot get out of the bloodstream. That's a problem because in the heart, the blood vessels are very delicate. There's a Teflon lining. And the sugar, like pieces of glass shards, scrape at it. And you see that little hole that's starting to make on the inside of the artery? As our body scars in an attempt to heal, it's a fragile repair. It breaks. It ruptures. Now you have an open surface that's sore, Oprah. And you have a cut anywhere, you form a scab on it, right?
Yeah.
Same thing in the body. You form a scab in the artery. It gets larger and larger. And kaboom! Right there, you saw the leading cause of death in diabetics. Because a diabetic will most likely die from a heart attack. From that very reason. Oprah, 1/4 of the patients that I operate on every day have diabetes.
Wow.
1/4.
So, okay, just to summarize, when you have too much sugar and your body isn't processing the sugar, it's like little crystals, it's like shards in the body, right? It's like pieces of glass. Okay, that's what happens in the body when you have too much sugar.
Right, and these little glass shards, imagine this is the lining of my artery, which we have everywhere in our body. It's scraping at it. It's digging at it. It's cutting it.
That's what too much sugar does in the body.
Exactly. And we have to scar the cuts. We have to heal them. The scarring process is the hardening of the arteries.
So it's scarring inside the body.
In all of our tissues.
In all of our tissues.
Every one of them.
Okay.
And that's a problem because that influences all of our organs. So, for example, what happens when it scars our kidneys?
You have kidney failure.
You have kidney failure. So here's a picture of a normal kidney on the left. Beautiful, plump, robust.
Yeah.
Look at the kidney on the right. It's shrunken. It's shriveled. It's been killed.
That's a diabetic kidney.
Diabetic kidney.
Okay.
What happens in the eyes? In the eyes, the blood vessels are very fragile. Look at the left eye. Normal eye, by the way, is a window into the soul of our bodies.
Right.
It's our brain we're looking at.
Okay.
The normal eye on the left there has normal pink tissue. It gives us a beautiful reflection of the brain. Look on the right side, what happens during diabetes. Those fragile little vessels crack. A little tiny crack in a blood vessel, and the blood accumulates. See the dark areas? That's a Charlie horse of the eye. But when that happens in your eye, you don't just get a little discomfort. Imagine you're looking at two kids playing in the playground. Right? You got a picture of them right there.
Okay.
You've got diabetic changes. This is what it looks like. That's your view of the world. Now try to focus on that. So it's not just a little bit of sugar.
Not just a little bit of sugar. So many people think that if you're diagnosed with diabetes, that you just take a little insulin. I know I have members of my family who have to shoot insulin every day, and you'll be fine.
Well, at the end of the day, the amount of insulin you've got to take is dependent on how bad your diabetes is.
Yeah.
But I don't want you just to think about diabetes. I want you to feel diabetes. So I took one of your film crews with me to New York Presbyterian Hospital, and we actually visited Lorene.
Okay.
She's a woman who is on insulin.
Okay.
She's had diabetes for much of her life. I want you to hear her story.
Okay.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Dr. Oz.
It's a real pleasure to meet you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to meet you, too.
Thanks for that.
Diabetes so ravaged Lorene's kidneys. At age 34, she already needed a transplant. Just 7 years later, diabetes destroyed that kidney too. 3 days a week, it takes this dialysis machine 3 hours to clean her blood. Without it, she would die. Now at 44, diabetes has taken an even greater toll on Lorene's entire body.
Can I look at your legs?
Oh, sure. I ended up with lesions on my feet, and I've now lost half of my leg on the left side, and they just took half my foot 2 weeks ago.
I'm going to ask you a delicate question, but there are a lot of folks who say, hey, I just have a little bit of sugar. You know, I have a little diabetes, and I'll take care of it. What do you have to say to them?
Try and take care of yourself early, because I didn't when I was young. I ate lots of regular sugared soda and regular cake. And then I also would say, well, I'll take a little bit of insulin to, you know, compensate for it. You know, I think that would be okay, which it wasn't. And this is what happens.